How do we choose the people we fall in love with? Most modern cultures offer a simple answer. Trust your feelings. If attraction feels strong, it must be right. If the chemistry is intense, it must be meaningful. If something pulls you toward someone, it must be love. This idea sounds kind. It sounds liberating. It sounds human. And it is deeply misleading. Romantic culture promised us that instinct would save us from the mistakes of the past, from cold calculation, from relationships built on duty rather than desire. We were told that if we followed feeling instead of reason, love would finally become authentic. But something strange happened. Despite unprecedented freedom of choice, relationships did not become more stable. They became more fragile. People meet quickly, feel deeply, commit intensely, and fall apart just as fast. Again and again. The problem is not that people are insincere. The problem is that instinct is misunderstood. We assume attraction points us toward happiness. In reality, it often points us toward familiarity. Long before adulthood, the nervous system learns what love feels like, not through philosophy, not through advice, but through experience, through the way attention was given and withdrawn, through warmth mixed with tension, through care mixed with unpredictability. For many, love did not arrive as safety. It arrived as effort, as waiting, as pleasing, as managing someone else's emotional state. That emotional pattern does not disappear with age. It becomes attraction. As adults, we believe we are freely choosing, but often we are recognizing. Someone feels right, not because they are healthy, but because they reproduce a familiar emotional atmosphere, even if that atmosphere was painful, especially if it was. This is why intensity is so often mistaken for depth, why anxiety feels like passion, why longing feels like connection. The nervous system lights up, and we call it love. Meanwhile, genuinely stable people often fail to excite us. They feel calm, predictable, available, and instead of safety, this triggers boredom, or discomfort, or distrust. They feel wrong, not because they are wrong, but because they do not activate old patterns. Attraction, in these cases, is not wisdom, it is memory. This explains a painful contradiction many people live with. They say they want happiness, but are repeatedly drawn to situations that undermine it. They say they want peace, but pursue emotional chaos. They say they want stability, but reject it when it appears. The mind rationalizes this. It just didn't feel right. There was no spark. I didn't feel chemistry. But chemistry is not always information. Sometimes it is conditioning. This is why we may reject someone, not because they are unsuitable, but because they are too suitable. They do not require us to prove ourselves. They do not demand emotional labor. They do not recreate the familiar struggle. And without struggle, the old definition of love collapses. To love differently requires awareness, not of others, but of oneself. What qualities excite you? What qualities repel you? And more importantly, where did you learn that this is what love feels like? When examined honestly, our preferences reveal history. They are not neutral. They are legacies. They carry assumptions about what affection requires, what closeness costs, and what intimacy demands. This does not mean patterns can be erased overnight. The nervous system resists change, but awareness introduces friction. It slows impulse. It weakens compulsion. It creates space between feeling and action. Without this awareness, people remain vulnerable to illusion. They meet someone briefly, feel intensity within minutes, and mistake it for destiny. Or they dismiss someone solid as boring, without ever understanding why. Freedom in love does not come from obeying every feeling we recognize. It comes from understanding that feelings may not be guiding us forward. They may be pulling us backward. To love differently is not to become cold. It is to become conscious. To recognize that what feels familiar is not always what helps us grow, and that what feels unfamiliar may be precisely what allows us to become whole. What feels familiar is not always what is true. Recognition is not the same as choice.